Hello. My friends and I hold a service every week, and for this season we want to symbolize our future hopes of life spreading through the galaxy by having green flames spread over a galaxy. So we're going to make a plate of clay in the shape of a galaxy, and then I'm going to take boric acid, which colors flames green, and spread it over the plate. And boric acid also happens to be white, and I got black clay, so black, the darkness of space, white, the stars of the Milky Way galaxy. And then rubbing alcohol, I'll just use a small amount of rubbing alcohol and set that alight. And because it'll pick up some of the boric acid, I'm hoping, and not much else, hopefully. And that'll make a nice bright green flame. I tested it last night on a piece of glass, and alcohol on glass with boric acid burning makes a very nice bright green flame. So that's what we're going to try. So the first thing we got to do is get a piece of wood and spread some clay over it, so that this is just air dry clay. So this clay should just, once I've shaped it the way I want, and just leave it for a day or two, will probably dry. The problem is that when this clay dries, my experience with it is that it tends to, if you make anything really big like a plate, it tends to get cracks in it. And so having the wood backing will keep it from like breaking up and falling apart. And then I'll be able to fill in the cracks with some more clay, and generally speaking, the second time it gets nice and solid and works really well. So that's my plan. Let's see how it works. So I got a piece of wood. Well, it's kind of wood. It's actually a kind of tile made out of medium density fiberboard, or high density fiberboard, I don't know which, with some kind of surface on it. Anyway, just seemed like a nice piece of light stuff that I had downstairs that would do the job well. And of course I got a plate, make a circle, because the galaxy is circular, so why not make a circular plate? And a marker, and all I have to do is trace that on. And go get the jigsaw and cut it out, and we'll have a circular board to put stuff on. Alright, so I've cut out the circle, and as you can see, I used safety ear protection for the noisy jigsaw. Word about safety: if you're a kid watching this video, go tell your parents not to let you watch videos on YouTube without them like checking to see whether it's really appropriate for children, because this isn't appropriate for children. You should be doing this at home without adult supervision for sure, because burning alcohol open like this would be a very, very dangerous thing to do. You'd probably end up like burning yourself alive, and your parents probably wouldn't appreciate that. So go tell them to like supervise you better. Okay? Okay, good. So black clay. Okay, well this should both open the package and spread the stuff, so let's try that. Again, don't do this at home without adult supervision, especially with a knife like that. Oh, okay. So I'm just going to slice a nice plate off. Slice a few of these, should do half the job for me. Just like slicing cheese. Yeah, and if you don't know how to use a knife safely, don't do this. You know, I don't. So I'll probably chop a finger off, which will be entertaining for everyone. How's this going to work? So the thing about clay is that kind of like a very pliable but also
kind of brittle. It'll crack up as it dries. So you kind of need to knead it together to form a single plate. So I have no idea how I'm doing this, but anyway, we'll just try different things until it works. Jamming my thumb into it good and hard seems to do some good. The other advantage of using black clay is that flame isn't very bright. So against a white background, if you have lights on when you're actually doing the ceremony or whatever, it's going to be hard to see. But against a black background, it may show up a little bit better. At least that's my theory. I'm making a bit of a ridge around the edge because the last thing you want is burning alcohol flowing off the edge and you know, getting everywhere. That would be a disaster. Big disaster. So, mind you should be using like an eyedropper, I think, to put the alcohol on eventually, because you really need very little. I mean, you just want to sort of like have a flame spread out and be green and then be gone. And it's surprising, a very small amount of alcohol can burn quite a while. Getting there. Getting there. Kind of like making pie crust. Although I don't think this will turn out very flaky. Now, that I've got it all spread out, I need to get the seams really well worked, because of course that's where it's going to try and crack first, is along the seams where I've tried to smush two pieces together. Now what I need is a rolling pin, get it nice and smooth and flat. So I got a rolling pin, or at least a large copper pipe, which will do the same thing. And I'm just going to roll it out and get a nice smooth surface. That'll make it bigger than it needs to be. Then I can just cut the edge off and use the extra to rebuild that ridge I was talking about earlier. Do the trick. Go. Now, before I make the ridge, I should probably make the Galaxy, because it's in the middle. It's easier to work from the middle outward, because you know you have to work across the edges to get to the middle. So I'm going to do that first. What I want to do is carve out the shape of the Galaxy in sort of bas relief, which will channel the alcohol along those channels, and that should make it, you know, we'll get the flames in the shape of the Galaxy. Okay, so downloaded a picture of the Galaxy on my computer, and now I just have to draw it out on this. I'm just going to mark it with the tip of a knife, and that should do for now. And then what I'll do is I'll actually carve it in deeper later. Okay, so I finished tracing out the outline of the Galaxy on here. Probably can't see it from there. Basically, it's just a nice shallow impression. Now I'm going to actually carve it out with some depth so that it will contain the alcohol and the boric acid. Okay, so I've got it all carved out. All I did was like cut in at an angle like this, and then like this, and sort of peel back the long strips of
of clay that I cut out that way. And now I've got it all cut out, but it's like really rough because I just kind of tore out the strips. So now I'm just smoothing down the grooves to make a nice smooth surface. I'm just using the back of the knife to do that. It's working really well. Just like that. You can see like I still have to get some pieces out that are sort of ridges that are still in the bottoms of the grooves. The big outer arms can be nice and deep, but unfortunately the inner arms, it's hard to make them as deep because they're really packed in there tight together, so they're going to be a little bit shallower, I think. But as long as we spread alcohol throughout with an eyedropper, we should be able to get the flames to spread pretty well. We'll see how that works. Okay, so I've smoothed out all the grooves really quite nicely. Center ones are really tight. It's amazing. It's amazing to think that these grooves are like 10,000 light years long, and I'm having trouble forcing that kind of detail on the clay. The Galaxy is really immense. It really puts it in perspective when you try to carve it out. Anyway, so now the next thing I've got to do is take some of these bits that I've cut out, kind of put them along the edge and make a ridge. Because like I say, I really don't want the alcohol getting out of this. It shouldn't get out of the ridges if I apply it carefully enough, but you know, it never hurts to have an extra layer of protection. Alright, I'm done. So, I've got the ridge all the way around. I've pinched it good. Hopefully it's pinched in well enough that it doesn't crack off as it air dries. If so, then I just got to put some more on after. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave it like this to air dry, and then tomorrow I'll fill in any cracks that have formed, and we can maybe move on to the boric acid stage if we're lucky. So I'll continue this tomorrow. Okay, so about less than a week has gone by, and the clay shrank quite a bit, so you can see the edge around here, the white hardboard plate underneath the clay plate. The clay plate is actually separate from that, but I'm leaving it on there because I think it's quite fragile, so this will like make it less likely to get broken. The clay dried, and as it dried it cracked. There were cracks along the bottoms of the grooves. There were cracks here and there across the surface of the plate. So what I did this off camera, I forgot to film it. Anyway, is I just took bits of clay and kind of rubbed them into the cracks, just like that. And then once I had them rubbed in, they were rough and kind of ugly. I just take a little drop of water on the tip of my finger and kind of push it back and forth across the surface of the plate. And the clay, because it's air dry, it's not really cured, certainly not after a week. So it actually kind of melts the clay and forms it back into one piece pretty well. I think that's called slip. I don't know whether that's a verb or a noun, but anyway, when you kind of wet clay like that, it's called slip. Then once that was more or less dry, I took my boric acid powder, which is just this white powder, and I used a smidgen spoon, any little spoon would do, and I just took it and kind of, you know, poured the white powder along the grooves, which gives you this nice galaxy shape, the white stars of the galaxy arms against the black of space. It looks pretty good. Then I'm going to actually pour a little bit along here, because I did an experiment at one point where I was trying to light the alcohol and my alcohol wouldn't light because I put too little, and I think overheated the boric acid powder, and it's kind of oxidized there, so there's like, it's not as white along this arm. So I'm just going to put a little extra there,
And then I just took the back of the spoon and kind of smoothed it out. And I did that all along all the grooves. And you can see it makes a nice white galaxy shape. And you can probably add extra now and again over the course of using this, because it will you know, get smudged out and stuff. I don't think it really gets consumed by the flame, because very trace amounts are used in the flame, but maybe it does, I don't know. Anyway, then the next step is really quite simple. Take a small container, really quite small container, because you really don't want too much alcohol. I'm going to put the clay in the, more importantly, the plastic bag away before I do the next step. Oh, and I'll need matches for this step. So this is the finished plate, but this next step is what you kind of have to do to charge it each time you want to use it. Just pour a little tiny cup. This is, you could use rum. I'm using rubbing alcohol because it's cheaper. Just make sure you don't drink it, because it's toxic. And then I have an eyedropper here, pretty big eyedropper. The nice thing about this is you are loading it with an antiseptic, so you could use an eyedropper that you use for medical stuff, like, you know, actually, you know, inserting, say, antiseptic or antibacterial or something drops into your dog's ear, which is what we use this one for, and you can use it for this, and this actually cleans it, sterilizes it. So then this is where sole is, so I usually start here, and I just pour, and you got to put enough that you kind of get a puddle. Not a deep puddle, but a puddle, because if you don't have a puddle, well, that's when I found I couldn't light it. But like, the puddle doesn't need to be a whole millimeter deep. And I just kind of run around. I'm going to do the whole galaxy. There's a lot of arms in this galaxy. Now if you do sort of like only the major arms or something, you could do that. Oops. And just take up some more alcohol here. And running over the areas I did first to try and make sure there's enough. Get that puddle thing going. Okay, I think that'll do. Now I'm going to take this container alcohol and put it way far away. The same with my main bottle, and probably the eyedropper. So I don't want them getting involved in the whole fire thing. I'm going to turn off the lights. You'll be able to see the flame better, I think. And then I'm going to light the flame, and hopefully it'll be green as advertised. So there's Sol right there. And there's green flames spreading through the galaxy. And like I say, they really kind of get going there. And there it's coming out the last arm. And there we go. And it'll burn for about, I don't know, a minute, 2 minutes, 30 seconds. It's already, the edges, the furthest reaches of the galaxy are already going lifeless. That's kind of sad. But yeah, there's the flame spreading down. And I'm not sure how long this is taking. I'm not timing it, but you know, I don't want it to be overly long. Continuous fire that raged for hours would kind of scare me. I think it's kind of nice to have a spectacular flame and then have it end. So there we go. It's kind of neat the way it does this. These flashes of green. I don't know if you can see that.
yeah, there we are. Green fire. And yeah, apparently right there in the center, I guess there's a lot of little cracks to show all the different little concentrated tight arms that get wound really tightly at the center of the galaxy, and that makes it so that it really holds the alcohol and it burns the longest. And it's burning down. You can actually just blow it out too if you need to get it turned off. It does just blow it like a candle, even though it's this huge flame. I tried it, and I just want to see this time how long it runs, but there it goes. It's just dwindling down. But yeah, I had the big flame going, and I just went like with a big breath of air. I won't do it now because you can see just moving my hands knocks around. Yeah, a big breath of air just like literally put it out. So there we go. And it's just the last little. I think that's the Norma arm. It's gone. There we go. So there it is. Green flame.